Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Hello, everybody. In this case, it wasn't Steph that was late. It was Stieg. But we'll forgive him because his computer was acting slow. But yeah, so normally at this time we'd be talking pop culture cringe on the Cringe Factory, but because it's close to Halloween, we decided to, when I said it, just do a list of 10 movies that we enjoy and would recommend. But this afternoon, my co-host demanded that I rank them.
Yeah, because I did.
Well, because he did, even though I never once said that they had to be ranked. It was just going to be a discussion.
Well,
I went to go see Halloween Kills, and then I had to come back and actually look at my list and go, okay, which one I put number 1, 2, 3, 4, and think about it further. It was already a pain in the ass enough to do the list.
I took your stream very seriously, so
which I commend you for, but at the same time, it's like me personally, I never like ranking movies because there's always, first off, my feelings towards movies can change from one point to another, and it's purely subjective reasons, what I'm in the mood for, what I prefer at that given time. Like for a while, I was into more kind of slasher, gory type films, and then I progressed towards more supernatural and psychological scary movies. So, depending on where you catch me, basically at different points in my life, I will give you a different list.
Oh, and the list is pure horror movie, though. It's not a horror comedy list or anything.
Yeah, it's not horror comedy. I mean, maybe Lost Boys, just because of a little bit of humor in it, but for the most part, that's a scary movie. But for every other movie I have on the list, it's scary movie. It's in the horror movie genre. It's not like parody or touching on sci-fi or anything like that, like Alien would. Even like Alien.
Yeah.
Alien is in the sci-fi realm, but I would argue that elements of that would put it firmly into the horror movie genre. So,
yeah, I left out monster flicks and horror comedies and sci-fi horror.
Yeah, so that's part of what made it a little bit difficult, at least narrowing it down the list, is I really love this movie. Oh, but it falls more into this category. Oh, I really love this movie. I was well, falls more into this category. So I already a pain, but we'll be giving. I have my list here. Stieg has his list. But I'm gonna say hello to the chat.
Oh, little side note.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're my friend, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
October.
Mm-hmm.
That means this month, you're my ghoul friend.
Ever the pun master. So first off, Brian King, he said he done posted a TMNT anime reference. I will check that out. I'm assuming you're saying that's on Twitter. I've barely been on Twitter today because I was out and about this morning, and then this afternoon I was out and about going to see Halloween Kills. So, Mystic Red Knight. Hi Jade, hope you're having a good evening. I am. I'm over this muggy, unseasonably hot temperatures. I want hoodie weather. I want it to be cold at night. I don't like this mugginess. So I don't want to be wearing short sleeves or anything like that. So I want to be kind of bundled up. I want to be wearing my robe and shit like that. But anyway, good evening. It's Friday, so that's a plus. So
if you give your hoodie to the guy who lives next door, it'll be a neighbor hoodie.
Joshy, who I played Splitgate with last night in particular, and very much enjoy. Welcome. Hope you all enjoy the discussion we'll have, giving our little top 10 lists. In this case, Steph is not to blame. Chunk the Punk, my guest, is the Norwegian Viking right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's see. Yes, Peacock has it. I don't have the streaming service, so I went to go to my local theater, supported my local theater, and figured, that movie deserves to be seen on the big screen, so I went to go see it. Ms. Martin uses hello, Teresa. Good to see you. Maza, hey, good to see you. Yep. No, he's late. I'm going to be the pain. He's late. Mo Monty, hey, what's up? Good to see you. Soul Assassin, Hail Mara, Stieg, and chat. Dead Punk Gage says, perfect timing. I just got done with Chopping Mall. So I've never heard of that. Is that like those
It's
what
what
are the Killer Santa Claus? Now, I'm
Chopping
not saying that
Mall.
that's what that movie is, but they're like the Killer Santa Claus movies from the 80s and early 90s trend.
Well, that's what Obi-Wan Kenobi did, Chopping Mall.
We're never going to get to the list. Rennie, hey, good to see you. Just Hail, Mara, and Stieg. So Mara, Halloween Kills, thumbs up or thumbs down? I think I'm with Stieg. You gave it a 7 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
I give it like a 7.5 thereabouts out of 10. So it's more of a thumbs up than anything. I don't want to give too many details away. But essentially the plot is, in a nutshell, it's the people of Haddonfield have had enough, and it's I don't want to say banding together, but it's people taking up the fight in their own hands, so to speak, to go after Michael. And of course, it's Michael Myers. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and he absolutely kills in this movie.
Yes, he absolutely. And one of the deaths I know was not supposed to be funny, but I actually laughed at it. And I'll put it in the private chat because Steve will know, and I don't want to say anything. But I actually chuckled at it when it happened.
Did it have to do with something getting squashed?
No, not that one. Put it in private chat what you're thinking. I'll put you in the chat what I'm actually I chuckled at, which I know was not meant to be funny, but the way it was choreographed, I chuckled at it. Hey J6, good to see you. Dead Punk Gage's Alien is more of a haunted house movie to me. That's what I said. Basically because of the predominantly sci-fi elements of space and so forth, that it does put it more into the science fiction category, but because of its contained psychological horror subtext to the plot, it's a creature feature unseen entity that's stalking the crew, puts it into the horror movie genre, those elements, but it toes that line, so you can't say it's a straight one or the other necessarily. But I see arguments for both, pretty much. So hello, Trey, good to see you. Alex McCarthy, howdy, Mara and Steve, how's y'all's day been? Watching Halloween Kills again right now. So you're watching it again, so I'm assuming because you're watching it again, you enjoyed it. So that's good to know. Josh says, I'll check out the new Halloween tonight, maybe tomorrow, looking forward to it. I think it's worth watching it and judging it for yourself. And like Stieg said, he absolutely kills in this movie. Abso-fucking-lutely.
Yeah, no false marketing in the title.
Nope, none whatsoever. Trey's leaning a 9 out of 10. My score could change, but right now, the impression I have is right at a solid 7.5. But I need to think about it because I literally came home and had to start doing other stuff. So I didn't have time to really process it and think about it too much. But at the same time, it's definitely a solid sequel to the movie that came out in 2018.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phil TMNT, hey Mara, looking great, thank you. Hail Steeg, can't see you, but I'll guess you look great. Not as great as Mara, though. Thank you so much, Phil. Let's see. In a sense, yes. But again, I don't want to say too much because it will give away plot details. Because it is a sequel to the 2018 movie, but again, with the 2018 movie, it ties directly back into the first Halloween film.
Yeah, maybe even more so this time because there's six or seven characters from the first movie are in it, including the original actor for the sheriff.
Yeah, so one. I'm trying to count one. I'm talking about the characters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 or 6 thereabouts.
This is probably not a spoiler though, but that shot when he exits the burning house.
Oh, that is a killer shot.
That was amazing.
And no pun intended, but that is a killer shot.
Yeah.
It's a 1986 proto-slasher film with killer robots instead of... Okay, all right, cool. That's what... Yeah, Michael Myers is the king of slashers. I think, I would argue, yes, I know that Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out before Halloween, but I would argue without the popularity of Halloween from 1978, we probably would not have had the popularity of slashers beginning with Friday the 13th. Because Halloween, the reception to that movie, and I will say this again as part of my list, reception to that movie gave studios kind of like in their minds the green light to kind of tackle the slasher genre in the 1980s, beginning with Friday the 13th in 1980. Making sure I don't miss anyone. I believe I've seen that, but I've seen so many movies, and like I said, it's difficult coming up with just a list of 10. I was gonna watch it tomorrow night. Bet was good. Okay, as I like, it's worth going to see it. You hated 2018. I actually enjoyed it. I mean, there were parts of it that I did not like. I'm not saying that I would like it was absolutely like great necessarily, but hey, to each their own. To each their own. But like I said, I don't think at least Michael will not disappoint in terms of that. From part of the private chat, what I was thinking.
Something just struck me though with they did retcon the bit where Jamie Lee Curtis is Michael's sister.
I don't think that's like from the first one. Yeah, I actually love that.
So where is the sister?
Well, the sister is dead.
Yeah, but he had another one that was in the cradle.
So you saw that in the second movie, right?
No, in the first one.
No, you don't see a cradle. I don't remember seeing a cradle.
Oh, I thought he walked by a cradle.
I don't think so.
Oh, my bad.
I mean, I'd have to go back and watch it, but it was never really indicated. But even then, even if like he had another sister, like I really don't care. I just don't want him to be related to Lori.
Yeah.
So I would have argued that maybe the sister just disappeared and changed her name. So if that's the case, if I missed the cradle, but
this is supposed to be a trilogy, right?
Well, they would open for a third movie.
Yeah, I think they said it was going to be a trilogy.
I typed in like where I chuckled. Black Christmas. I actually forgot about that, but I would go with the original. Yeah, I would go with the original. It came out before that, but in terms of reception, it was in terms of the slasher, because like that really, the Black Christmas, yeah, it's like a slasher movie, but at the same time, I don't think it necessarily would fall into the slasher category necessarily, at least entirely. But it came out before them, but it wasn't really. It didn't have the reception. It didn't have the the audience reception level of reception as Texas Chainsaw Massacre did and Halloween did, which would, like I said, give the studio heads in their minds the go ahead to let's tackle this in terms of like the scary movies in the 1980s and bring about the slasher franchise.
Yeah, technically it kind of started with the what is it, Black Christmas?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what he said. So technically started
74,
but it was like near the end of the 70s when 1978 when Halloween was released, and then Friday the 13th was like 1980, and then boom, slasher franchise. It's like I don't think that we would necessarily have had Friday the 13th if not for Halloween that came out 2 years prior. Because even though Black Christmas came out before then, there was enough time in between that like if that had been as popular as Halloween was or well received, then I think argue that those types of movies would have started before then, but they didn't. They didn't start until after Halloween. Speaking of, let's go into our lists. I did not like Rob Zombie's Halloween. I was not, at least put it this way. I hated the family at the beginning. Absolutely fucking hated the family. I rooted for Michael to kill them. So. Yeah, he was a big fan, but because of, well, I mean, I have my list, and Halloween is on the list. So what he did with his concepts, I think arguably is a better film, quite frankly. I mean, I did see Black Christmas. I enjoyed Black Christmas, but I think Halloween's a better film.
Yeah.
So, there you go. But, Stieg, what is your number one?
No, you should start. Ladies first.
Right. Well, my number one is actually Halloween. That is my number one.
Oh, that's mine too.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't think we need to go into too many details, but what really bumped it up to number one for me is not just because of the premise, not because of what Carpenter achieved and so forth. It got me into just the horror movie genre. And I loved how the way, like, Michael was stalking the babysitters at the beginning, where he would stand and just watch them and then just creep behind the bushes. It's like the same thing that was alluded to in a way in this recent Halloween Kills.
Yeah. That's actually something I noticed in the not Halloween Kills, but the one before that, when Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter is in class at school. She's sitting at the same desk her grandmother did in Halloween 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So like we had the callbacks essentially.
Yeah, but Halloween 1, like you said, it's not just the first slasher though. It's kind of like the perfect one.
Yeah,
and the music and the atmosphere adds a lot to it.
The music, the atmosphere, and but also where I would argue Michael Myers is scarier to me. I never got into the Friday the 13th movies. I watched them. I enjoyed them for what they were, but Jason never really, I guess, did it for me, for one of a better way of putting it. But Michael Myers, on the other hand, what I loved, hey Tommy, what I loved about him in particular was Dr. Loomis's description of him. When he said he's looking into the eyes of a 6-year-old boy, a fucking 6-year-old boy, and saying, I don't see anything. I don't see any humanity whatsoever.
Yeah, and Donald Pleasance is amazing. Slight spoiler. There's Donald Pleasance stuff.
It's at the beginning because they show a flashback to that Halloween night again.
Yeah, but it's
from a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, in the new one.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what they do at the beginning from a different perspective.
Yeah, you get brand new Donald Pleasance content in the new one, which I thought was awesome.
Well, yeah, it's like with Shocker. It's a William Shatner mask that was painted white. But yeah, so I don't like I said, I don't think we need to go too much into it. I think most people, even Liquid Blake, have seen Halloween. It's Michael Myers as a 6-year-old boy kills his older sister one Halloween night in 1978. No, 1963. Because Halloween takes place 15 years after that. So he's about in his early 20s. And he breaks free, attacks the nurse, who was I guess an assistant to Dr. Loomis's character, drives off in their car, escapes, and making his way back to Haddonfield, kills along the way, and starts targeting the babysitters, which is kind of became cliche after that, but he fixated on Jamie Lee Curtis's character Laurie Strode and her 2 friends and targeted them Halloween night.
Yeah, and it's kind of fun how John Carpenter tends to use a lot of the same actors in his movies. Because the chick that got killed in the car in the first movie, she's in a lot of Carpenter movies, and so is Donald Pleasance is in a couple of them, and Jamie Lee Curtis as well.
Yeah. So I mean, is there anything else you want to say about that? Because I say We
10 out
figured
of 10.
we figured that we would lend more of the discussion to like if we have a different movies at different and rankings. So since I went first with number 1, what's your number 2?
Evil Dead.
All right, mine is different, but like, why did you put Evil Dead as number 2? I enjoy it, so.
It's just I respect it when they manage to do something that good on a very limited budget, and it also spoke the franchise. I mean, there's video games and comics. Mm-hmm. There's an awesome TV show, Ash versus Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it certainly has a hell of an atmosphere.
Oh yeah,
which is they managed to do with just practical effects.
It was more of the within the horror movie genre before it kind of segued with the comedy elements, like with the second one, and then full on with Army of Darkness.
Yeah. It's what we did with this list was that Evil Dead 2 was not qualified because that was a horror comedy.
Yeah, it became more of a horror comedy, and then Army of Darkness was basically straight horror. Like I would say, like more of comedy than horror. So
yeah. Oh, and the Evil Dead remake is actually good.
I did enjoy the Evil Dead remake. There were parts of it where I was like, oh, that's pretty cliche.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, Liquid Blake. Hey, Dr. Coffin Nails.
It put Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell on the map.
Yeah, and the car in the films, that's Sam Raimi's car. So in Army of Darkness, when you see Bruce Campbell open the trunk, that's whatever shit that Sam Raimi left in his trunk.
Yeah, and Bruce Campbell has been trying to smash it ever since their college days.
Yeah.
And Raimi puts the car in every movie, mm-hmm. including The Quick and the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's disguised as a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce Campbell tried to get to the car during I think it was Spider-Man, but he couldn't. Yeah. He found it and he was going to smash it up. But Sam Raimi had a budget that time, so there was like a guard standing next to the car.
Yep. You should see. You should check it out, Josh. At least, like, so like you can see what direction they took it in. So.
Get the unrated version.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so my number 2 is actually The Exorcist. Because Halloween, it got me into the horror movie genre, and it was one of the first ones I remember watching. And it's also one of the first ones I remember actually watching a documentary about, the making of.
What compelled you to watch that?
The Exorcist or the documentary?
Pun.
What?
Oh, it's just a pun.
Oh, whatever. But the documentary, I watched the documentary because that isn't like another movie, obviously, because of the time period, did not have the benefits of CGI. So I was wondering, like, how did they achieve certain effects and things like that? How they achieved the cold room, when the room becomes extremely cold and you see their breath. It's the movie itself is based on a book, and the book itself is actually based on an actual event, an exorcism that occurred in 1949 in America. Which, to segue a little bit, there is a movie that's based on that actual possession. If you in the chat and Eustigs are so inclined to watch, it's called Possessed. It's a TV movie, and it stars Timothy Dalton, who stars his father Bowden, who was the priest who performed the exorcism back in 1949. And The Exorcist was based on that event, loosely based on that event. It took that event and turned it into the movie we know today. Also, that the doll they use when the head spins for promotion when The Exorcist came out, they stuck that doll in a car in front of a theater, and they had it set to a control. So whenever people would walk by, periodically they'd start the head spinning. as soon as a person was close to it, to basically just to freak people out and to get people talking about the movie. I loved the psychological aspect to it because, like with the actual events that occurred in 1949, the priest in The Exorcist is also having kind of like a crisis of faith, which is kind of what Father Bowden goes through, because he's still dealing with trauma he experienced from World War II. World War II. And I don't know how many people know this. I assume you've seen The Exorcist, right, Stig?
Oh yeah, many times.
Okay. The scene where at the end of the movie where the priest is throwing himself out the window down the steep stairs, and he's dying and he wants his last rites performed, and you see his friend come and give him the last rites, and the friend's hand is shaking. The reason why his hand is shaking, which really lends to the performance in that scene, is because was it Ben? Who was it? Hold on, I gotta look up the names real fast. Forgive me, people.
I saw a fun meme thing. It was a Tinder thing, and it had a picture of the girl from The Exorcist and the crucifix, and it said match.
Okay, William Friedkin. Okay, I want to make sure I got the name right. William Friedkin, the director. Yeah, thank you, D. Pensex. I was making sure I was remembering the name correctly, so I had to look it up. He wasn't getting the performance he wanted out of the guy. Like, he wasn't getting what he wanted, like the emotions he wanted the actor to convey. So he called the actor over as if he was going to talk to him and give him some pointers. But all he did was slap the man very hard. And he said, "Now go back and do the scene." So when you see that man's hand shaking, he's fucking afraid he's going to get slapped again. He's actually scared in that scene.
There's a movie with Christopher Walken and Dennis Hopper.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mobster movie, and Christopher Walken was, trying to intimidate Dennis Hopper's character, and Hopper couldn't do it because he wasn't afraid of Christopher Walken.
Mm-hmm.
So Christopher Walken, he left and bought an illegal gun and came back in, and instead of he fired a live shot into the wall next to Dennis Hopper's head, or nearby, just to put him on edge, and it worked.
Yeah, well, I mean, wouldn't fly today.
No.
But like I said, that's what William Friedkin did. He basically just real hard slapped that actor across the face and said, "Now go back and do the same." So when you see that him cry, basically the look on his face and his hand shaking is because he's afraid of what William Friedkin will do if he doesn't get the scene right. So wouldn't fly today. Yeah, so he would fire guns off camera too. Yeah, wouldn't fly today. But that's how he got the performances out of the actors.
Yeah, and in Jaws, Steven Spielberg waterboarded the first victim.
Mm-hmm.
To get her gurgling sounds.
Yep.
Literally waterboarded the lady. She was fine with it though, but
yeah,
still, that's a lawsuit today.
Pumpkinhead would get an honorable mention from me. I do love that movie. I like Lance Henriksen's performance in it, but unfortunately, it did not make my top 10 because it was very difficult. Very difficult.
Plus, it's a monster flick, isn't it?
What?
It's a monster flick, isn't it?
No, it's more of a...
Well, it's technically a demon.
Yeah, it's like a demon because he wants to get revenge on the teenagers that killed his son. Accidentally, but they left his son for dead. And he wants to get revenge on them. So basically, it's more of like a demon flick than it is a monster flick. What else about The Exorcist can I say? Like I said, I love the psychological nature with the priest. I love Max von Sydow's performance. I love how they were able to achieve a lot of that with special effects. The spider walk scene down the stairs freaked the fuck out of me.
Awesome theme music by Mike Oldfield.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, my mom bells. Had me get it for her as a ringtone. She actually has the ring the tubular bells
Yeah.
Or to believe as a ringtone. So it's kind of freaky when it's not Halloween and you hear that music. Like, holy shit.
But, fun story. Me and a friend were
I say top 20, but not top 10. Yeah.
We me and a friend were going hiking a few years ago, and we had the thickest fog I've ever seen. And we saw a guy with a hat standing under a street lamp, and it just looked like the cover of The Exorcist. And my friend looked at me and he said, "Maybe we should just take a hike another day."
Yeah.
He was just standing in the distance, same hat and stuff. Like, this is not a nice night for a walk.
Yeah, like a Demon of Vengeance. It's not like necessarily a creature feature. Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
It's more of like a revenge tale with a demon, pretty much. Mimic is I think you mean underrated, I guess. Creature feature and the Relic is another underrated gem. I don't remember the Relic that well, but I will give it to you with Mimic, at least the first Mimic. I think it's underrated. And hey, Cleveland, talking horror movies. So I don't know. More than welcome to join basically the conversation from the chat, or if you want to jump in, let me know. But we're on our second movies, and so far, for those of you who just joined the chat, Sieg's and my both number ones is Halloween. Steeg's number 2 is Evil Dead, and my number 2 is The Exorcist.
Yeah, The Exorcist is not even on my list.
Which I'm kind of surprised, a little surprised, but not really, because it's purely subjective. And but I pretty much loved everything about The Exorcist, and I think it actually was better than the book because it cut out some things from the book that really wasn't necessary in terms of the plot. So
yeah. And we're doing our favorite ones for whatever reason, and not the best ones.
Yeah.
So
we were doing the best ones. Some of my movies I don't think would even be on.
Ones.
It's just what I enjoy. What we enjoy.
Even if I don't have The Exorcist on my list, it's still better than most of them.
Yeah.
It's just that I don't rewatch it that much.
That I'd have to think about.
I like both of them.
What?
I liked both of them.
I know, but I had to think about it because it's been a while since I've seen either one. So I'd have to go back and watch them and say, okay, this one is better than the other one. Because I right off the top of my head right now, I couldn't say it. So, yeah, I will give basically Exorcist, and then it goes downhill with 2, and then kind of back up with 3. So, all right. So that was my number 2. Without going into too many details, because it's not really discussion into the nitty-gritty about these movies, and I'm more than willing to do them in the future. And if you want to talk about certain films in depth, I'm willing to do it because I love talking films. My third one, we're going to come back to me, is Fright Night.
I knew you were going to have it on your list.
Yep. It is Fright Night. Now, the top 3, I will shamelessly say what bumped them into that high is nostalgia, has a nostalgia factor to it. My parents were very fucking lenient when I was growing up. And I used to watch fairly regularly, other than Wizard of Oz, which was my favorite movie when I was a little girl. But I would regularly watch Gremlins and Fright Night, both in the mid-'80s. Gremlins came out in 84. Fright Night was 85. Unless I'm mixing them up. No, I don't think I'm mixing them up. And I did not include Gremlins because if you really think about it, it's more of a dark comedy.
Yeah, and it's absolutely a creature flick.
Well, it's not like absolutely creature flick, like that's one thing, but in terms of tone,
yeah,
it is.
It's actually more a Christmas movie than a horror movie.
It's a little bit, yeah, but more of a dark comedy. What would have bumped it more into the horror film genre if they had actually done what they thought about doing, and that is have the mother and the dog killed. But they didn't. So $25 super chat from Michael Tennant. Thank you so much. Do you consider American Psycho a horror film?
I consider it a thriller.
Yeah, it's more of a psychological thriller primarily. I mean, yeah, Christian Bale gives an incredibly scary performance. But in terms of like the plot itself, it's more of a thriller. Silent Night, Deadly Night. That's one of the ones I was thinking of. That's what I was thinking of earlier. Like where like the killer Santa Clauses and things like that.
So what is it about
Fright Night 1 and 2? I actually enjoyed the second one for the most part, but like the first one made the list.
So what is it about the Fright Night that you like?
I actually watched Fright Night before the Hammer horror films, and it was the movie that got me interested in vampires. Primarily because of the performance of God, why am I blanking on his name? Chris Sarandon. Chris Sarandon's performance as Jerry Danvers, the vampire. He kind of, I don't want to say like he's the only one who did this because you have Bram Stoker's Dracula and so forth, but he in a way made vampires sexy. You have like the guy that is very handsome, looks normal, but there's nothing normal about him. And he's like basically set up his residence next to not William Ragsdale's. What the fuck? Why can't I think of these people's names? And I don't want to walk up to my poster because that'll look weird. I am right, William Ragsdale. Okay, I thought I was mixing it up with Gremlins. But William Ragsdale's residence. William Ragsdale's like a teenager in high school. He lives with his mom, and one night he's kind of a voyeur. He notices that earlier in the day, this woman comes thinking that his house is like the house that she's going to see. And she's an escort, obviously an escort who has been hired by Jerry Danvers. William Ragsdale's. The kid looks out his window. He sees what Jerry Danvers is doing, and then he sees, obviously, fangs. Sees that his neighbor is a vampire. So, like one of those, yes, kind of cliched plots, but what I loved about how, they took a cliched plot where, no one's believing the kid. Like, my next door neighbor's a vampire, and, it's very outlandish. No one believes him. But I loved how he's, in a way, comes to the conclusion that the only one who's going to believe him is the host of one of those late night broadcasts where kind of like the Elvira broadcast where you have the host showing a movie, and that host is Roddy McDowall, Peter Vincent. And I loved Roddy McDowall's performance. I loved how he was hired by the friends. I should say Charlie Brewster is William Ragsdale's character. Peter Vincent is hired by Charlie's friends to kind of debunk and show Charlie that this guy is really not a vampire. So he goes to his house to kind of perform the debunking test. And he comes to the realization that this guy is a vampire because he notices that there's no reflection in the mirror. Yeah, it's prototypical Bela Lugosi, basically sex appeal. And I think basically Fright Night did it first in terms of modern sex appeal with vampires than Anne Rice did, and with the Interview with the Vampire and things like that. Movies, I should say.
It plays on women's sexual fantasies.
So basically, it took the cliched premise of no one believing him and adding an element with a horror movie broadcast host as his how do I put it? His ally. and they are forced to go after Jerry Dandridge because Jerry has set his sights on Charlie's girlfriend because Charlie's girlfriend looks like one of Jerry's dead wives or girlfriends or whatever. And the girlfriend's played by Amanda Bierce, and she plays Amy. So you have that element to it. So they have to rescue the girlfriend. His friend, Evil Ed, who's a weirdo, and that actor who played Evil Ed, for a while was gay for pay in pornos. Is bitten by Jerry and used against Charlie. So, and I love the scene where the friend Evil Ed, he's turned into wolf form and is staked by Peter Vincent, and the prosthetics and the special effects when he's turning back into human as he's dying, I absolutely love. And the face on Amy when she fully becomes a vampire in a sense was going to be used in Ghostbusters, but they deemed it too scary, and that's going to be not that face. No, the face on the bat. Sorry, when Jerry turns into a bat was going to be used in Ghostbusters, but that was too scary. Now I'll find a face of the bat to show people. But it was originally going to be used in Ghostbusters on the face, I believe, of the library ghost, and it was thought to be too scary. So they did away with that, and that prosthetic, that face, made its way to Fright Night.
I watched Fright Night for the very first time a couple of years ago. It was one of those movies that, I never got around to watch, but I really enjoyed that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Let me just share the screen real fast for those who have not seen this movie. This was the face that was going to be on the face of the library ghost, and it seemed too scary for obvious reasons. And it found its way to Fright Night. So hey, The Thing is still one of the greatest horror movies and one of my favorite horror movies. It is. I very much enjoyed The Thing, and I assume you're talking about the Carpenter, the one with Kurt Russell, I should say, and that actually is one that's closest to the novella. And so, yeah, this face here was originally supposed to be in Ghostbusters. And yeah, he was in 976 Evil. He was, but so he did not have exactly the same career as William Ragsdale did, and definitely did not have the same career as Roddy McDowall had. So yeah, like basically this was a face that was going to be used, like I said, in Ghostbusters, and they nixed it and was the bat. So that is my third one. Like I said, it's like one that I was telling Stieg about that he just watched recently. It's one I grew up on. We're basically talking about like anything horror movies, like what movies that like you enjoy, that like if you were to kind of say here like the 10 off the top of my head that I absolutely love, or for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. Like it's like just the only stipulation is it has to be straight horror. Like it's like not like no creature features, because you can include in creature features Godzilla and things like that. If it toes any other lines like science fiction or whatever, we did away with those. I didn't include Alien. It's basically straight horror movie, and it could be in any decade, pretty much. My three, just for an example, you have two in the 1970s, and the third one is mid 1980s. So, but that's my third one. And like they did miss an opportunity with the prosthetic effects there, but with the tone they were going for and with Ghostbusters, it was a little bit too much. So So before I go into your third one, Stig, $5 from Epstein's Ghost. Thank you so much. It says, "Hail, Jade Shadow. Yep, I saw Fright Night with my dad 10 years ago. So you talking about it definitely brought some good memories. Cheers, Jade and guest." Thank you so much, Epstein's Ghost. Very much appreciate the super chat, but you did not have to send it to say that. However, I'm glad that we're at least bringing up the good memories that you have watching Fright Night with your dad. So, but yeah, that Fright Night made my top 3. So, what is your third one, Steve?
The Shining.
All right. Now, I'm probably going to get flack from a lot of people, but I'm not a fan of The Shining. I think it's overrated. Personally, and at least before you go into it, my biggest issues was the casting primarily. But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like Shelley Long in it.
I was not a fan of Jack Nicholson, actually.
Really? I thought he was phenomenal, but most of the horror movies I have on the list are on it because they nailed the atmosphere, and I thought The Shining did that. And it's using that old thing they do in horror movies. They isolate people.
Yeah, that hotel is actually, I believe, still standing.
Well,
it's an actual hotel. The Overbrook is an actual hotel. It's called Stanley Hotel. So.
Yeah, but the Stanley Hotel is the one you see in the miniseries, actually.
I'm saying,
Yeah, but it's based on the Stanley Hotel, which is haunted, apparently.
Very much so.
Yeah. It's you see it in Alien as well. They're isolated. You can't get away. They do it technically in Jaws when they're on the boat. And but The Shining is. I usually start off the Halloween season by watching The Shining. That's pretty much always the first one I watch. I thought the new sequel, Doctor Sleep, was actually pretty damn good too. But The Shining.
Doctor Sleep for the most part. I mean, I haven't read the book, so I can't really compare.
The Doctor Sleep has the movie has the ending of The Shining from the book in it, because the stuff with the labyrinth and all that isn't in the book. The boiler blows up.
Yeah.
So, I just like that hotel. It's just eerie. It just looks eerie all over. And there's something about that. It came out in the 80s. Sorry, in 1980, I think. But it still has that 70s feel to it. And the 70s kind of, in my opinion, the best decade for horror movies.
It's one of the best. One of the best. I would argue still the 70s and 80s, but when I say that, I'm kind of excluding slasher genre, because there were still some good ones that came out in the 80s, but that didn't fall into that category.
Yeah.
But for real fast, $1.49 super sticker from Deranged Lunatic. It is a rose. Thank you so much. And another $5 super chat from Epstein's Ghost. So if you casted The Shining, who would it have been in the original? I would actually have to think about that. The reason why I'm not a fan of Nicholson's performance per se is because in the book, his descent into madness is very gradual. Nicholson comes in and he looks like he's about to snap the moment he steps into that hotel.
Yeah,
I think the pacing was off in that regard.
Maybe it's difficult to do though, given that you only have a 2-hour movie, right?
A little difficult. That's why I think certain books written by Stephen King work better as a mini series.
Yeah.
Because when you have someone's descent into madness and it's as gradual as it is, when you try to condense it into 2 hours, I don't think it works. I mean, when he goes completely crazy, yeah, I buy it. I buy anything crazy from Jack Nicholson. All I have to do is look at him, pretty much. I buy anything when he turns crazy. But the progression. The pacing was off.
The miniseries from 97. Someone said in the chat.
Yeah,
that one did that bit better because they had more time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like that's like if people like The Shining, like fine. Like the one thing I will give to Stanley Kubrick's vision in The Shining is I prefer what he did at the end to, in a way, to the ending in the book. Because in my personal opinion, Stephen King can't end a book really to save his life, and I love how that's kind of joked about in a way in the second chapter of It that came out recently. Where Stephen King pokes fun at himself in that regard, and there's actually a kind of a conspiracy theory, I don't know, in a way, where people believe that some of the books under Stephen King's name were actually written by his wife. Because if you read them and then read the others, they feel like they're written by different authors.
Yeah,
but I could argue that's probably also when Stephen King wasn't high on drugs. So
Stephen King is one of the few authors that don't outline the plot.
No.
And when you outline the plot, you have done all the heavy lifting beforehand, because you'll never run into a writer's block. Stephen King just sits down and writes, which is why he gets in trouble with the endings.
Yeah. The plus, like for some of the things like he did with It, like he would really have to be on drugs. So Silver Bullet, I do love Silver Bullets, but that was that's more of like a novella. Like that, the book itself is actually this thin. Like, you could read it in like 30 minutes if you wanted to. Well done, but it's not actually like a book. The movie, however, is one of those rare instances where when you in adaptations where the movie is better than the book. I loved Silver Bullets, and it would be an honorable mention.
Yeah,
for me, definitely would be in the top 20.
Silver Bullet definitely has the Stephen King feel to it.
Yeah. So, but going back to the original question about who I would cast, again, for all I know, Jack Nicholson could have given maybe a good performance if they had made it a miniseries and not a 2-hour movie. But if I were casting,
Dennis Hopper, maybe.
Maybe Dennis Hopper. You'd want someone that could convey a more like Jack Nicholson. I love Jack Nicholson as an actor for the most part, but you want someone that, when you look at them, it's not necessarily believable that they would become crazy. You look at Jack Nicholson, and it's like, holy shit, why haven't you snapped already?
Yeah.
But that's why I said, like, you'd want, like, that's why it's hard. You have to kind of stop and think, like, what actor can do that? And I say that maybe a young Dennis Hopper could achieve that, where it's, that slow progression. Maybe John Ritter, maybe. Definitely not Al. I love Al Pacino, but definitely not. He's also one that, like, why haven't you snapped yet? I don't think he's that believable.
What about Roy Scheider?
Roy Scheider, yeah, like basically, like, again, you'd look at the individual, and it had to be a surprise that they become the way they become by the end.
Yeah.
So that's why I'd have to think about, like, actors like that were, like, not necessarily prominent back then, but at least ones that, like, could do that. But like I said, it's really Jack Nicholson and the pacing with the character that I did not like, because you're taking a book that's, like, pretty damn thick and condensing it into a 2-hour movie where it would work better, like what the 1997 CB miniseries did. It's kind of like The Stand. The Stand was broken into 4 parts. They had to, because the book itself is like over 1,200 pages. So there's no way they could have done The Stand in like a 2-hour movie. That has to be a series. And the Shining is kind of the same way in a sense, because of how the character devolves from when you first see him to the end of the book. So
yeah, that's a fair point.
But like I said, if people enjoy it, I'm not like bash anyone for enjoying a movie. I just say like, but like it always, not always, but sometimes I'll say like, I think The Shining's overrated, and they look at me like I just kicked a puppy. Yeah. So I'm like, it's like, if you like it, fine. I mean, like, there are movies I like that probably people look at me going, what's wrong with you? But like, it's all subjective. And like you said, the atmosphere is perfect in that movie. And I did actually like the ending in the movie better than in the book. So I give that to Kubrick. All right. So those are
the ending was amazing.
All right. So basically, to recap, your top 3 so far are
Halloween, Evil Dead, and The Shining.
Yes, and my top 3 is Halloween, The Exorcist, and Fright Night. So since I gave my number 3 first, you give your number 4 first. Yeah.
Okay. This is a remake made by Hammer Studios because they made a comeback recently, and it's The Woman in Black. Starring Daniel
Radcliffe. I thought about that. It did not make my top 10, but I did enjoy the movie, so you made number 4.
All right. Daniel Radcliffe is in it, and he's amazing in it. He's great. And it has the look and feel of the old Hammer movies. It really does. And it's a ghost story set in the 1800s somewhere.
No, like, relatively late 1800s.
Yeah. Great actors all over the board. The sets are amazing, and it has a hell of an atmosphere. And some really creepy scenes, especially the one in the hallway when he has to lock the door and then someone tries to open the door.
And basically without going into too many details of the movie, just in case anybody in the chat has not seen it, if children see the Woman in Black, they kill themselves, correct?
Yeah.
So, and because she targets children, and there's a reason why she targets children.
Yeah, it has an excellent plot. It all makes sense. Yeah. If anyone in the chat hasn't seen it, give it a try. You can do a lot worse.
So, in terms of like movies that have recently come out, it is one of, I think, like the better ones. Like primarily like what you said with The Shining, it's like the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it's Hammer horror going back to its roots in terms of like basically like with like not going to the cliched realm of jump scares or anything like that, but actually building tension and an atmosphere within the house itself.
It was absolutely more tension than jump scares.
Yeah. Which is what horror movies should be.
Yeah, and the creepy scenes were actually creepy. You know, when you caught a glimpse of the Woman in Black looking out the window and stuff.
Yeah, like sometimes like scary movies are not so much like you're actually scared, but you're just apprehensive because like what is going to happen next? Like the unnerving feeling you get.
Yeah, it's the eeriness of it.
Yes.
And I have a soft spot for horror movies set, back in the day in the 1800s and stuff, because I enjoy the costumes, and sometimes they do the language a little bit different, right? They speak like they did back then, and sometimes very formal and stuff like that. I really like that.
Yeah.
So that one is I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. And Daniel Radcliffe can act.
Yeah, that's why I guess when people and I'm not trying to call out anyone in particular or for any movie in particular, but like so many times I've seen, like whenever they announce a casting for a particular movie, people are so quick to jump the gun because they associate an actor or an actress with a particular role, as if like they can't separate.
Like with
one
Pattinson,
from the other,
maybe.
Basically. What?
Is it Pattinson you're getting at?
Well, kind of like that, but like when Gal Gadot was like cast as Wonder Woman, I know you're not a fan of her, but like Heath Ledger when he was cast as a Joker and so forth, Michael Keaton when he was cast as Batman, like the list goes on. Yeah. Basically, like it's from beginning of time, essentially in movies, people will be like, why are you casting that actor or actress? Like, they're not going to do a good job. Like Michael Keaton, he was Mr. Mom. He's in people's top 3 of Batmans.
So and and the same people complain about typecasting.
Yeah,
which is ironic.
So me saying, hey, let's just wait and see what performance that person's going to give is not necessarily me saying that I believe that person's going to give a stellar performance. I'm just waiting to be entirely impartial about it and not going like, oh, Pattinson's going to suck, or Heath Ledger's going to suck, or like Michael Keaton's going to suck, or whomever's going to suck in that role. Pretty much.
I'm actually
hey, and
I'm absolutely going to give Pattinson a fair chance, because I did not give Heath Ledger a chance back when he was cast as the Joker. Mm-hmm. I thought it was good. I thought it was rotten casting, but I was definitely proven wrong, big time. Yeah. So I burned my fingers that time. So this time I'm not stepping in the same hole.
And Daniel Radcliffe was essentially, I don't want to say he went through the same experience, but when he was cast, people were like, "That's Harry Potter." Like they associated him with Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Like, could you let the guy maybe break out of that role, please? Like, he's done other stuff. So maybe
he's actually done a tremendous amount of variety since Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. He's done comedy, even action movies.
Yeah. So that's what I said. Like, it's sometimes the best dramatic actors started out as comedians.
Yeah.
And the other way around. Sometimes the best dramatic actors like do very good comedic roles. Leslie Nielsen started out as a dramatic actor. People know him for Naked Gun because he did a phenomenal job. But then you have Steve Carell, who started out in comedy. And he's one of the best serious actors we have.
I hate him.
I'm saying, like, in terms of, like, performances, he's shown that he can have range.
Yeah, I mean Jim Carrey too.
Yeah,
when he does serious parts, he's actually good.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, I'm not saying that necessarily he's my favorite, but they've shown that they can break out of like the molds that Hollywood try to put them in.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams, like Mrs. Doubtfire, but then like he is in 1 hour photo.
Yeah,
and he was like just creepy and phenomenal in that movie.
Yeah, and The Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
So, the good Willie humping.
Yeah. So yeah, Edward Norton, pretty much like same thing. Favorite Halloween villain?
Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotta go with Michael Myers. Just like because like what I said at the beginning is that like when Dr. Loomis was describing a 6-year-old boy as having like literally no soul.
Yeah.
It's like that is. I mean, I'm not really a fan of what they like explanation they gave later on in the franchise, but I liked the fact that it was like just simple. Like he is just pure evil. Like don't try to understand him. Lock him up and throw away the key. Pretty much. The first one actually made my list.
Really? I've never seen them.
Well, we'll get into it because it actually is down like basically at the bottom, but it made my top 10. So, but okay, so your fourth was Woman in Black.
Yeah.
My fourth was actually, even though I don't gravitate to zombie films necessarily, two of the movies in my list are zombie films for different reasons, but my fourth is actually Train to Busan.
Never seen that one either, but I hear nothing but good things.
Yeah, it is a Korean horror film. It is one of those contained scenarios because it primarily takes place on a train, and an outbreak, as what normally happens with zombie films, an outbreak happens, and now basically these people are fighting for survival on a train because it can't be stopped, and they have to fight to survive and make it to the destination in a sense.
Goes off the rails, does it?
And Train to Busan, in my opinion, was what World War Z should have been. In terms of like, because there is actual like some like not a lot, but character development because of the primary character's this father, and without going into too many details, it has this like emotional arc with him and his daughter, and he's trying to he's protecting her. He's trying to get to their destination, and his sole purpose is keeping her safe and so forth at the risk of himself. And I don't want to go too much into details, but you actually kind of care about all the characters. And it is a zombie flick. And like I said, it's what World War Z should have been. It's a contained film. It's a foreign film. And it shows that you could still have good stories within the scary movie genre. It doesn't have to be jump scares or anything like that. You can still care about the characters. They don't have to be literal fodder for the slasher or anything like that. It shows it and at the same time, the plot could be anywhere. And in this case, it's on a train, going from one point to another.
I just realized that my whole list is foreign movies.
Train to Busan.
It's not a single Norwegian movie on it.
Oh, there you go. Train to Busan is probably the most emotionally exhausting horror film I've ever watched. It did a great job of making you care about the people involved. Yes.
Yeah, which very few horror movies do.
Yeah, so if you have not watched it, I recommend at least giving it a try. It's Korean, so it's going to be subtitled. It is a zombie flick, so if you don't exactly like that necessarily, you might not, in that aspect, you might not enjoy it. But at the same time, it is worth just for how they demonstrate once again the idiocy of Western Hollywood in terms of character development and everything like that. Dog Soldiers, I love. Did not make my top 10. It would make my top 20, definitely.
It's on my honorable mentions list, actually.
Because there aren't too many werewolf movies that I would say I necessarily enjoy, but Dog Soldiers and The Howling, right there. But they did not make my top 10. I gravitated more towards vampire films, and then I gravitated more towards supernatural, not demonic possession, but ghostly possession, things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my number 4, and I don't want, like I said, I don't want to go into too many details because of all the emotions involved, with the characters, and shows, also it shows that in Western Hollywood and how basically the male sex is are literal pieces of shit in a sense. Well, the focus is a father protecting his daughter. And another focus is a husband protecting his pregnant wife. So they actually demonstrate, show the male characters, all the characters, but particularly the male characters, in positive light. And not dunces or anything like that. So that's my number 4. All right. All right, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, my number 5, because we actually were talking about ginger snaps. I prefer. I don't know if people are gonna think I'm weird about this or not, but in terms of the movies, the ginger snap movies, I actually prefer the third one. Third one's my favorite, and normally it's not the case. Normally it's the first or the second one. I enjoyed this third one more. I don't remember the house that well. I've seen a lot of movies to the point where I was trying to make this list, and I'm going, did I see this movie? I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah, Ginger Snaps is on my honorable mention as well. Mm-hmm. It's actually more about the girl becoming a werewolf rather than her being one.
Yeah,
it's the stuff leading up to it, which I thought was great.
Mm-hmm. All right, so my number 5. I think this is a movie that I brought up a couple weeks ago, and that is The Awakening.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Mm-hmm. So this made my top 10, number 5. And like I said, I don't know if I was talking to Steve about this or before this film or not.
Yeah, you did.
No, I'm saying but I gravitate more towards films that are within a particular genre, but also have different subtext to them. This has the added traumas of World War One.
Yeah, this one also I'd say it's in the same alley as The Woman in Black.
Mm-hmm. So basically, like, just I'm going to read the back real fast, just for people who missed the stream from 2 weeks ago. Post World War I England, so it's set in 1921, an author and paranormal skeptic played by Rebecca Hall is invited to a countryside boarding school by the headmaster to investigate rumors of an apparent haunting. But just when she thinks she has debunked the ghost theory, a chilling encounter makes her question all her rational beliefs. And it's one of those, like I said, that it weaves in the prior traumas of World War I into her character, into the headmaster's character played by Dominic West, within a ghost story.
Yeah,
so there is an actual haunting. So I'm not saying like it's like one of those where it's like you think there's a haunting and it really isn't. This is actually haunting, but there's more to it than just a simple haunting.
I kind of liked that one more. I liked it more as a movie rather than a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
mm-hmm.
I didn't find it scary or anything. It was just I just liked the movie.
Yeah, this was one of the ones like. I preface this by saying that never ask me if a movie is scary, because I've become so desensitized to films in this genre because it's my favorite that I honestly couldn't tell you because it might not be scary to me, but it could scare the shit out of you.
Yeah,
So this movie itself is not scary, but I loved, like you said, like with Woman in Black, the atmosphere.
Yeah,
it actually set up certain things where it's like, are those the boys playing a prank, or is this actually like what is actually happening? What's real?
Basically, just give me an old, cool-looking building and put the characters in it, and I'm happy.
Yeah, which is kind of like the boarding house in this film. It's set in 1921. You have that. It's secluded. It's a countryside, so it's like really nowhere easy for people to get and things like that if anything were to happen. And when the revelation happens near the end, it's like, holy shit! Like you're going back and think, oh my god, like that. Okay, that's and like without going into details, because it would give away a plot twist. It like it kind of makes you question what's actually happening in the movie. Like, is this actually a ghost doing it? Is these boys pulling a prank? Like what's happening, and so forth. And a lot of it is surrounding Rebecca Hall's character, because you find out certain things about her character that, again, would delve too deeply into potentially giving something away. But like I said, I loved the atmosphere. I loved how they set up certain scenes, where it's like not just jump scares or anything like that. It actually builds the tension right in certain situations, unlike current movies made today. Even though this film came out in, I'm gonna say 2005. This film is pretty recent enough. It's not like old. Fuck, I can't remember. I want to say like 2005 time frame. So it's not like exactly new, but it's not that old either.
If you like this one, you might want to check out Crimson Peak.
I liked Crimson Peak. I enjoyed it pretty much. Yeah,
it's similar.
Mm-hmm. Very similar. Basically, it's
got Loki in it.
Tom Hiddleston, yes, and Mia, however the fuck you pronounce her last name. Who played Alice in and Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movies. She's in it. And is it Jessica Chastain plays the sister?
Yeah, she's in it.
Yeah. So that's another one that's very secluded, and you're wondering like what is actually happening. Is it all in her mind, or is it actually happening, like occurring? So, but that is my number 5. Like I said, a lot of it is because it is in the scary movie genre. Now, it itself is not necessarily what I would say is scary, but it builds tension, it builds apprehension, it makes you question what's real, what's not. She even questions like the main character. Is it actually happening? Am I seeing things or things like that? Like it actually keeps you paying attention because you don't know. You think you have it figured out, and then it goes, nope. Sort of situation. So, that is my number 5, The Awakening. So 2011. I knew it was like recent, but I couldn't remember. I think it was like out earlier than that, but it didn't have an official release in the West until 2011. But don't quote me on that.
It's kind
of this is a British film.
It's kind of eerie to think about 2011 is actually 10 years ago.
Yeah. So because this is a British
time flies. Yeah,
but like some things that are filmed in other countries don't make its way to the West until like later. So
yeah, Mara and I were in our 50s in 2011.
Shut up. Anyway, what's your number 5?
My number 5, and I think you might approve of this one. It's the Dawn of the Dead remake by Zack Snyder.
Ah, I actually like that over the original. All right.
Yeah, me too. I thought the remake was way better. And you can see video games like Evil Dead. No, sorry, like Left 4 Dead took a lot of inspiration from this one.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. It's a group of people isolated in a mall during a zombie apocalypse, and they have to, survive and get to the harbor basically to get on the boat and escape. Great cast. Yeah, it has atmosphere way more than other zombie movies do, because other zombie movies just send zombies at them and have them kill them, Yeah, but this one is kind of they flesh out the characters a little bit.
Characters a little bit. I liked also that the zombies were quick.
Yeah.
Versus just like lumbering, like in the original.
Yeah.
Real fast. I don't know if you're talking about like the slashers themselves or the movies, but Michael Myers is number 1 for me. Followed closely by Freddy, only because you can't go to sleep, and then very closely to that, Pinhead. So.
Yeah, I'm Michael Myers Halloween.
Yeah, so.
Pinhead is underrated though.
I love the Hellraiser movies.
So. Yeah, there's like 10 of them now.
Yeah, so. I mean, like, not all of them are necessarily good, but I love Pinhead as a like slasher villain, because basically it's like literally a hellish character. Yeah. So it's not like just like a lumbering like Jason or anything like that. It's these people creatures will fuck you up. So
oh yeah, no mercy. Pinhead is also being gender swapped now.
Oh yeah, I saw that and I was like, fucking hell.
Well, to be honest, they're called Xenobites, right?
Yeah.
You do have female Xenobites.
So. I know, but they could have had a female Xenobite without gender swapping the main one. So it's
do we know that it's Pinhead though, or is it?
I mean, I don't know. If it is Pinhead, then like it's a gender swap. Like you could have had a female Xenobites around him, and it would have been fucking fine because there are females. But the gender swap. But if it's not, and it's basically just the media running their stupid mouths again, then that'll be the case. But right now, it's like I don't know. I'm waiting for like confirmation. So.
Oh, Soul Assassin says Mr. H said the original Pinhead was a female in the book.
I didn't even realize there was a book. I'd have to go look for that.
Me neither. So. But I want to read it now.
Yeah. Because the first movie was just fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
So if that's a book, like, holy shit. So we'll see. So, I mean, if it was a female originally in the book and they made it a male, well, you could tell that they did it without, like, basically going, look at us. Hey, we're cool. Unlike today, where it's like, hey, look at us, we're progressive.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, you're not progressive because they're actually female Xenobites. So what's your point? So yeah, but like, I remember when the remake of Dawn of the Dead came out, and like I said, I actually preferred it to the original. And one of my English teachers in high school, she and her husband, I think their scenes were cut, but they were basically extras, so really didn't matter. But they had the chance to be zombies in the original Dawn of the Dead because her husband knew someone working on the film. And they had the choice of being one of the like zombies you see just walking in like those like far away kind of shots sort of situation, or actually getting shot, like, have the prosthetic set up so like they explode and things like that. And they chose to be like the walking ones. But I think like she said their parts were cut, but they were extras anyway, so she didn't care. But they got a chance to be in the film. And I've been to the mall where that was filmed, the original. So I've been like literally on set in a sense for the original Dawn of the Dead. Which leads us to number 6. So your number 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you start here. What's your number 6?
My number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you do a number 5?
Yeah, The Awakening.
Yeah, okay. My number 6 is the
Lenovo Mall Depensec. I've been there, so.
My number 6 is The Ring.
All right. Okay. I'm assuming the remake, correct?
Yeah, the first American one.
Okay, the first American one. All right.
Yeah, I have not seen the Japanese one, but I've heard it's way better. But I thought the American one was great. Loved it. Really good. It's technically a ghost story, isn't it?
Well, not technically. Well, in a sense, it is. I guess technically, but for the most part, yeah, it is a ghost story because of the curse, for one of a way of putting it, associated with like those who watch certain footage.
Yeah. Great makeup on the people that gets killed in it.
Mm-hmm.
That was nasty. The chick in the closet.
Yeah, when she comes out of the TV is where I was like, oh, like you see like the goo and stuff, like she's just coming out of a well.
Yeah. I saw the actress won some MTV award, and she showed up in costume and makeup, and did like a sudden move towards one of the audience members, scared the shit out of her.
Yeah, I know. I remember that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, and early on, when you see the chick that's dead in the closet, it tells the audience that hiding is not going to work in this one. You know. Yeah. Which, I really enjoyed The Ring. Another 8 out of 10 for me. And again, atmosphere, incredible atmosphere. And the tension builds up per day in the in the movie, because what is it, a week? They get a week and then they get killed.
Yeah, basically. So basically, once it hits a certain time on the 7th day, you're dead. So basically, it's like you said, like like it doesn't matter where you are, where you're trying to hide. You can't hide.
Yeah.
Unless you break the curse, but it's a curse.
You don't even know what the curse is, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome movie.
Mm-hmm. I prefer the original Grudge.
Never seen the original. What? I've only seen the remake. I thought that was good too.
It was decent, but I prefer the original, The Grudge.
Yeah, it was kind of The Ring-ish.
Mm-hmm.
What is it with Japanese and water-soaked dead girls?
I don't know.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Japanese are in one sense based, and in the other sense just fucking weird. So,
yeah,
I don't know. I have no explanation. I just accept, not accept, but if it's good, I just okay, it's good. All right, moving on. Sort of situation. But it's kind of ironic that your number 5 was the remake of Dawn of the Dead, because my number 6 is the original Night of the Living Dead. Because kind of like my top 3 is one of the first horror movies I remember watching when I was young. George Romero, his production company, Laurel Productions, because he actually grew up in my state, not far from where I live, like where I am, like in terms of like geography. And it was filmed pretty much my home city. In a sense, thereabouts. And I've met the actress who played the girl, the actor who played the first zombie you see at the beginning, and I've met Tom Savini. And actually, in my base, one of the aircrew members was actually at one point married to the woman who played the little girl in Night of the Living Dead. And again, not really to beat a dead horse necessarily, but the reason why I love this movie, even though, like I said, I don't necessarily prefer zombie films in a sense, in terms of like the subset in the horror movie genre. I liked this one because it is one of those building up the tension, self-contained movies, because it takes place just like the entirety of the film in that farmhouse. Kind of like with Dawn of the Dead, where it takes place entirely in a mall, but that's like a big open space. In this case, it's a house, and you have these different characters, different personalities. Not only they have to come together to survive, but also like try not to kill each other. Because have you seen the original Night of the Living Dead? I'm assuming.
I'm sure I have, but the all the Living Dead movies have kind of blended together for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like it's a blur.
So for me, it's like, and like that movie was basically progressive before Hollywood started patting itself on the back recently and saying, "Look how progressive we are," because the main character that you root for, that you like, there's like is who's holding like the literal ship intact in this movie, is a black man. 1968 movie, the main character is a black man that you're rooting for. Real fast, $2 super chat from Snow Dub Live. He said John Carpenter's The Thing is best, and the story. I enjoyed it. It did not make my top 10, but I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it primarily because it's closest to the novella.
Yeah, I left it out because sci-fi horror.
Yeah, I mean, I left it out because I was trying to come up with movies that I enjoyed that also did not touch on kind of like the obvious ones in the genre.
Yeah.
I kind of avoided like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise and things like that.
The Norwegian guy at the beginning of The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not Norwegian. That's some hellish Google Translate shit he's spouting.
But yeah, kind of going back to Night of the Living Dead, it's basically filmed in my hometown. I met people involved with the film. And I loved that it was basically it was a horror movie, but it was also part of it at its core, kind of in a sense, a character study, because you have these different people like from different backgrounds who are all of a sudden forced to not only survive what's happening, but survive together. And you have a clash of personalities and feelings and things like that within the midst of, well, they don't know they're zombies yet, basically. Like and you have the iconic line where it's like, "Oh yeah, they're dead. They're all messed up." Love that line when they're giving the interviews. So, Night of the Living Dead, because of that, and the fact that it was shot in black and white. So, like when you see the blood and it's all dark and everything, I was like, that's like really good in terms of the visuals. Made number 6 for me. So, and Descent, people are saying Descent. I actually enjoyed The Descent. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I remember enjoying it. This thing.
Oh, yeah.
The people were like bringing up movies in the chat, and I'm like, you have no idea how fucking hard it is to try like narrowing it down to 10.
The Descent is awesome.
Yeah. So. But yeah, Night of the Living Dead made, the original 1968 one, made my top 6. Or number 6. So, okay, back to me. Sorry, I keep having to drink because we're talking a lot. So number 7 for me is another horror film. Now, have you seen the movie Quarantine?
Probably.
All right. Quarantine is the American version of this.
Oh, that one I've seen.
Yes, Wreck. If anybody in the chat, willing to watch a foreign film, I highly recommend this. This does found footage in a sense, hell of a lot fucking better than the West has done. It is creepy as hell. This movie, creepy as hell. So basically, I can't read the back because it's in Spanish, or at least not very well. A television reporter and her cameraman accompanying her. Basically, if you know Quarantine, you know the plot of this. Basically.
Yeah.
But this is a lot fucking better. And this made my number 7 for me. I highly recommend this movie.
I have a found footage one on my list too, but I bet you most people haven't heard of it.
Yeah, let me see if I can, I'm going to go on to where I have the tabs open. If I can give you guys, a better than me just, going, oh, if you've seen Quarantine, you know this plot of this movie. Wreck turns a young TV reporter and her cameraman who cover the night shift at a local fire station. Receiving a call from an old lady trapped in her house, they reach her building to hear horrifying screams, which begin a long nightmare and uniquely dramatic TV report. So basically, it's through her cameraman's lens. So it's found footage, but that's how they show that you could do films like that without it being shaky cam and everything like that. And it's very contained. Again, and you have the dark atmosphere. You can't really see everything that's happening. There maybe one or two jump scares, but for the most part, they've set it up the tension so well that when they happen, you actually fucking jump. So Wreck for me makes number 7. I have 3 of them, and the second one went in a completely different direction, but I have 3 of the movies. So yeah. But basically, like I said, if you've seen Quarantine, you essentially know the gist. But in this case, it is a Spanish film. And see if I can find some good images to show you guys. Oh, it is creepy as hell. Well, no, I don't want to risk giving too much away. But yeah. So let's see if I can get another plot. Nope. Embarrassing ones. But yeah, so it for me, when I first saw it, because it was recommended to us by a man that I normally buy DVDs from at a convention we would go to every year. Very much recommended. So yeah, that made my 7th. So what is your number 7?
My number 7 is The Omen.
I'm assuming you mean the original.
Yeah, the one with Gregory Peck.
Mm-hmm. This is for you, Damien. Yep.
Yeah, eerie movie, really eerie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not religious, but that one worked for me. And Antichrist story, probably it's the best one, I think, of that horror genre. And the ending is fantastic. Great cast and insane atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And there's tension building. The more they learn, the more tension you get. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it only has one jump scare in it, but it has emotional or psychological jump scares the more you learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you start going, yeah, shit, this is real. That they're in deep shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, they did a South Park episode too. Damien moved into school.
Yeah.
It was just evil, Yeah, awesome movie.
Mm-hmm. Which one had Sam Neill as Damien Older? Is that
the second one?
Second one. So
yeah,
I couldn't remember if they if there was one in between that I was forgetting. But yeah, so Sam Neill played Damien as an older.
Yeah, had Lance Henriksen in it too.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean that's another one that it did not make my top 10, but like I said, I was kind of trying to steer away from the more well-known ones in a sense, and actually like go into ones where it's like I grew up on, I watched, and I very much enjoyed, as well. So, I love The Omen. Yeah, okay, I was right. Omen 3 had Sam Neill. I was like, I knew there was like.
My bad.
What was I gonna say? But like I love The Omen. I love like I said, Nightmare on Elm Street, like things like that. I wanted to kind of steer clear. So my number, so like my list is going to be ones that are probably gonna be people are gonna be like I don't want to say unexpected, but kind of how do I put this?
Not mainstream.
Not mainstream in a sense. I try to steer as much clear as possible from that. So, yeah, it's okay. Predictable but enjoyable. Yeah, Sid gave it a 7. I gave it like a 7.5. So, all right. So yeah. So, like someone said, like never trust. Like was it Soul Assassin? Like he never trusted a kid named Damien ever since watching that. Keeping like The Omen, Epstein's Ghost said the real number one devil is almost ready to pop into the world scene. The Omen is scripted for me.
I saw a fun little theory that's most likely completely fake, but you know how in the Bible when the Antichrist is born and all, they say that the number 666 is going to be an everyday sight. You're going to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, in the language the Bible was originally written in, 666 is spelled WWW.
Well, there you go. Twitter is a proverbial hell.
And it also talks about how it will get under your skin, and how you will only be able to do purchases or trade with it for some reason, which is the chip they're talking about that they want to put in people, right?
It's amazing how like certain movies set certain things up, and you're like, that'll never happen, and then we get to the point where we're like, holy shit, they were Nostradamus.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, all right. So basically to kind of recap, top 7 so far for me: Halloween, Exorcist, Fright Night, Train to Busan, The Awakening, Night of the Living Dead, the original, and Wreck.
Yeah, and mine was Halloween, Evil Dead, The Shining, The Woman in Black, Dawn of the Dead remake, The Ring, and The Omen.
All right. Yeah. So you see how basically our lists are different. So we're not exactly just gushing over the same movies. So we're on number 8 now. So Stig, what is your number 8?
My number 8 is Prince of Darkness.
All right. So yeah, another John Carpenter movie, which I've seen once.
Yeah, starring Donald Pleasence and Victor Wong.
Because it's fucking hard to come up with a top 10. As it is. But it would be my top 20. All right, so going on.
Yeah, they find a priest dies, or the Pope or something, and Donald Pleasence's character is shown an object that's kept in a church, an ancient object. It's just a cylinder with liquid in it, and strange things start happening, and it's almost like it's part of John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy. Yes, 3 movies dealing with that. It's a bunch of people investigating that cylinder object, and they're in that church, and the hobos and stuff like that start getting they start acting weird, like possessed, and they're blocking their escape, so they're still inside a church. And the story kind of goes into, it's not necessarily the Antichrist, it's something else, but they also add some pseudoscience to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have jump scares at all,
No,
I think, but it has an insane atmosphere, really.
Does that have Dennis Dunn in it?
Might be.
Same actor was also in Big Trouble in Little China, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, the Asian dude.
Yeah. Good night.
Yeah.
That's the actor's name, I believe, is Dennis Dunn.
Yeah, and Alice Cooper is in it. Plays one of the hobos. He impales the guy on half a bicycle.
There's another movie I saw with Alice Cooper in it. It's like a very very strange movie. It's like it's a werewolf movie, but you have to turn your brain off and believe that he's the romantic lead. I mean, like, it's worth a watch. I'd have to go look it up. I saw it on, I think, Chiller or Comet not that long ago, but I saw another movie with Alice Cooper in it. It's a werewolf film. But yeah, he's when I say romantic lead, I mean like he's like kind of like the main love interest to one of the other women. So, and you have to kind of turn your brain off and like think, yeah, she likes him for his looks, not his money. So yeah. So.
Anyway, if you haven't seen Prince of Darkness, if anyone in chat, go watch it. It's very different.
Mm-hmm. Well, my number 8 movie is actually pretty different as well. And after I go into my number 8, when you go into your before going to number 9, I have to let my dog out of my room.
Okay.
But my number 8 is a movie called Phantasm.
Oh,
by Don Coscarelli.
Yeah, who also directed Bubba Hotep.
Mm-hmm. And I included Phantasm purely for the reason, kind of like how you said, where it's like it's trippy. It's I don't want to say campy, but it flew under the radar. In a sense where it's like most people, like you would talk about horror movies, most people have not seen it or heard about it because it was like one of those like low budget films that came out. Like I said, by Don Coscarelli. It came out in 1979. So like most of my movies are like old, like, you know, like 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. But again, by Don Coscarelli. He also did Bubba Hotep. Angus Scrimm plays the tall man, and he is creepy as fuck. Especially when he says boy and he draws it out and his like voice is gruff and everything like that. The premise of the film is you have Mike, who's a young teenage boy. He follows Mike as like the main protagonist, who he and his brother have both like lost their parents, and he follows his brother to the funeral where he witnesses the tall man, played by Angus Scrimm, lifting a coffin, and the plot progresses to the point where they find out the reason why the tall man is stealing the bodies and what he's like doing it, and because they find out the tall man targets them. And yes, the silver balls, yeah, because the silver ball. Have you seen the movie before I like describe them?
I've seen it once a long time ago.
Yeah, so basically, like maybe this will jog your memory. Like the balls will like follow you; they float in the air and they'll chase you through like wherever you are, like the halls of the mausoleum and things like that. And they have these two sharp knives, like edges that will poke out and like bore into your forehead if they catch you. Yeah, you play a good Game Boy, but now you die. Yes. So it's one of like basically it's worth a watch. It's low budget, and I'll give you in the chat kind of a fun fact about it. Trivia about it. There's a scene in the movie where the older brother Jody picks up, and she's only known in the movie as the Lady in Lavender. this blonde woman. He picks her up, and they have sex in the graveyard. You don't exactly see a lot of everything, but like that's what they're doing. But both the actors, the guy who played Jody and the woman who played the lady in lavender, had each gotten married to different people respectively. So they weren't comfortable with being in a situation where they had to like show any naked part of their bodies. Because of that, because they recently each got married. So, fun trivia fact for everybody. The ass shot of Jody when his pants are pulled down and the shot of her boobs when the dress is pulled off of her are stunt actors. So that's literally stunt boobs and stunt ass in that scene because they did not want to film. They weren't comfortable showing any naked part of their bodies. So when you see that's not the actors in that scene. They had to actually stop the film, call in the stunt double, and have him there just to pull the pants down so you see the ass shot in that scene.
The stunt double D.
Yes. Yeah, that part. So Dead Punk Gage knows the part I'm talking about. Yeah, they weren't comfortable doing that shot. And the films, it's actually a franchise. It's actually a Phantasm franchise. So it's not like one film. The movies themselves get so fucking bizarre. Like, you really just watch them just for, like, kind of shits and giggles because, like, they're bad and you're watching them because they're bad. And it mainly follows Reggie in the progressive films. He's played by Reggie Bannister.
Who is also in Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, and Michael, I think the actor maybe who plays Michael, or no, but like the original Michael, but he comes back for like one or two of them. Definitely one, but maybe two. I can't quite remember. But in a sense, the movie ends, and then the focus becomes Reggie from that point on, and like trying to figure out and stop the tall man because the tall man keeps coming back. The tall man, in a sense, is kind of like that slasher villain, but he's otherworldly. So you've seen Trey says he's seen the villain from Phantasm. So you've seen Angus Scrimm, you've seen the tall man. So basically, Phantasm for me made it to number 8 just because I loved the trippiness to it. I loved that it's like the plot was so bizarre, and like Don Coscarelli is like again low budgets, but he showed that you don't exactly need a big budget to do a decent horror film. You really don't necessarily need a big budget. You need atmosphere, you need tension, you need I guess believable scares when it comes to the villain, and you get that with Angus Scrimm. You get the basically uncertainty of like what's going on and the weirdness associated with like what the tall man actually is and everything. So that to me put Phantasm in my top 10. And I have a poster. You can't see it this really well, but it's behind those books down there.
Yeah, I can see the title.
Yeah. So while you're going into your number 9, and I am listening, or your before I go into my number 9, I gotta let my dog out of my room.
Yeah, I can talk. Yeah, you're supposed to do the 9 first, so yeah. I'll talk to the chat a bit while you're putting the dog out. Let's see. Trey Courtney has seen the villain from Phantasm. Well, then you're in trouble. Let's see what else. Monster Dog or Hound from Hell. It's Morris Dog, so it's absolutely from hell. Oh, Josh 064 is leaving, so have a good night.
It's a long time. So, all right. I'm sorry. But yeah, so Orange Eye Review says in no particular order: Critters, Gremlins, Arachnophobia, Silver Bullet, Fright Night was in my top. Exorcist, which is in my top 10. The Right, Lights Out, which I have and I enjoy, but did not make my top 10. Bram Stoker's Dracula, and Birds. So,
yeah, my list would have been way different, but we went for strictly horror, no monster flicks, and no horror comedies. So I couldn't do Critters and Gremlins, or Jaws, or Alien, or anything.
Not really, no. I mean, I would have liked to have included Gremlins because, again, it had like not just because I love the movie, because it had the nostalgia factor to it, but to me, it's more of a dark comedy.
Yeah. It would count as a Christmas movie, though.
It does. Well, I'd say it's kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas, where you could watch it both at Halloween and Christmas.
Yeah.
Because of this, like the elements to it. But because its tone is more dark comedy, and they toned, and it became a dark comedy because they toned, or they put the kibosh on certain things to include, like what I said earlier, where originally I believe the mother, but definitely the dog was supposed to be killed in like pretty horrific manner.
Yeah.
And they nixed the idea because that's a little too much for this film. So
Koopy Malik says Jeepers Creepers. Shit, I forgot about that one.
That's the thing. You can't it's not easy making a top 10 list with horror movies because people are like, what about this movie? What about this movie? What about this movie? And Jeepers Creepers is one of those rare occurrences of current movies that's actually pretty damn good with the creature itself, literally.
The Creeper is awesome.
The Creeper, I remember watching Jeepers Creepers. I didn't see it in theaters. I was watching it on DVD with friends, and just to picture this scenario, it's like it was when I was in college, and the couches were kind of in an L shape. All right, so we were all kind of sitting in a line, and we're watching this movie. The dog is male. And it was a part where the sister was sitting in the car, and we were anticipating seeing the creeper's truck in the distance. We were waiting for that moment. And it is a jump scare. Yes, I will admit I got pulled in by a jump scare. But we were looking in the distance, expecting to see the creeper's truck. And Justin Long's character, like, comes up to her window and goes boom, like scares her. And the guy, one of my friend's boyfriend at the time, is the first one who jumped. He jumped, and it started like a progression of line down us because like it's just like a little train, like when they do the waves and the crowds. That's what happened. And I remember it's that scene. And I like turned in, and he's like, "God damn it!" But I kind of like just before I go into my ninth is I liked Jeepers Creepers primarily because they don't exactly win in the end.
Yeah,
they don't exactly win, and I kind of appreciated that about the film because it didn't necessarily set up a sequel. But they made a sequel, but it didn't necessarily set up one in a way because this creature only comes out at certain points every so many years to do what he's doing in the film, and that is collecting parts to keep himself alive.
Which is a little bit of kind of like the plot of one of the X-Files episodes with the guy who stretches.
Mm-hmm.
Because he shows up every 20, 30 year or something and steals a few people's livers to nourish himself.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same.
Yeah, the sequel was okay. It was decent, and Trey Courtney said, "Don't watch the third one." Is that the recent one that came out? Because I did watch it.
I've seen the third one. It was it's a sequel.
Yeah.
See, it has sequel syndrome, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so my number 9 is Lost Boys. So,
which is gonna be turned into shit soon.
Yeah.
With all kinds of virtue signaling.
Mm-hmm. So again, people in the chat, you can roll your eyes and things like that. Like it's very hard coming up with a top 10 list. It's very hard narrowing these movies down to say, okay, this is like in terms of subjectiveness, these are the movies that I enjoy. These would make the top 10, and Lost Boys was one of them because I loved. It does have humor in it, It does have like some comedy in it, especially with the Frog Brothers, but it also didn't shy away from showing vampires as they actually are. They aren't necessarily the romantic vampires from the Anne Rice books and things like that shit. They look demonic and they will kill you. They will drain your blood. They don't seduce you. They just attack. They're creatures. They're monsters. And I love how they kept that with the Lost Boys. They didn't try to romanticize it necessarily with the group itself headed by Kiefer Sutherland and with the vampires. And then you have Jason Patric, he's bitten by one of them and he's slowly turning into one. And I like that aspect of it and how he doesn't become one exactly right away. He has to fight it and everything, which in turn makes his brother, who's played by Corey Haim, turn to the Frog Brothers and say, hey, tell me what you know about vampires, because I don't jack shit. You know, the Frog Brothers become experts on, like, you know, how to deal with vampires. And I don't want to go too much into details because there's a plot twist, a sense, but at the same time, it kind of also touches on vampire lore about how they can't enter certain residences without being invited, which is what I didn't mention with the Fright Night movie and how they touched on that, where, like, talking back to Fright Night, where Evil Ed says, like, you know, don't worry, Charlie, like he can't get you because you haven't invited him into your house. He hasn't been invited by the rightful owner. And then you find out that Charlie's mom invited Jerry into the house. Well, it's kind of the same scenario with this movie, where it doesn't disrespect whatever lore is established within vampire stories. Doesn't bastardize it to make like a good like teen horror flick. So, and like I like the fact that they were punk vampires.
Yeah, and it's also very 80s, which is awesome.
Very 80s, very punk in terms of looks. Again, like, you know, the vampires themselves, like, yeah, they're punk kind of teenagers or 20-somethings, but at the same time, they are at their roots of what vampires are, and that they are creatures, they are bloodthirsty, and they will attack whomever, and they don't give a shit. And then like someone said Star, our Christian Star. In the movie, it's basically the love interest because she's kind of. I think she's like been turned. I can't quite remember, but I know definitely the kid that's part of the group, the little boy, is like turned because she's trying to protect him and keep him from turning completely. So she's kind of like his surrogate mother, and he's like, and I like how, like, you know, they set up in like when the family, when Corey Haim and Jason Patric and their mother, played by Diane Weiss, get to the town, and you see all these, like, you know, missing children posters or missing persons posters and things like that. One of them is the boy that's part of the group. So they kind of like tie everything together, like, you know, it's like that he's actually, like, people are actually looking for him. Lauren played that vampire, at least it looked like her. Yeah, it kind of did. But that's Lost Boys makes my number 9. So now, okay. And I'm trying not to go into too many details, so I don't spoil anything for people, and plus I'm losing my voice. So,
well, my number 9 is Friday the 13th, Part 6.
All right, I've seen all of them. We got to kind of jog my memory on that.
Yeah, this is the one where he gets super powered. He's actually dead. He's in the grave, and someone stabs.
This is the one where they correct something that some shit they did in the 5th one.
The 5th one was just stupid.
Yeah, I was saying, but they had like that plot twist in the movie where you were like, "What the fuck?" And then they went back to the roots with the 6th one. So right.
And probably has the highest kill count of any of the movies because he kills all kinds of people.
Yeah, I couldn't remember I couldn't remember like her, but the boy was. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah, and soundtrack by Alice Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Great soundtrack. It's where Jason becomes a zombie, basically. Some idiot stabs his corpse with a metal rod, and then lightning strikes the rod, and that brings him back because that's how lightning works.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's he goes on a royal killing spree in this one, and it has one really good scene in it where you see one of the girls in charge of the kids. There's children at Camp Blood this time, and she's walking through their dorm basically, and checking in on them because they're to see if they're sleeping, and you see the windows behind her, right? And you can see Jason walk past each window behind her, kind of like stalking her.
Yeah.
Awesome scene. Really awesome scene. I think this is the one where he stuffs a lady inside a sleeping bag and smashes the sleeping bag against a tree as well. Which is pretty...
I know I've seen all the Friday the 13th ones because there was a marathon. There was always a marathon around Halloween.
Yeah.
I don't remember them that well, like I said, because I never really got into the Friday the 13th franchise. I was more into the Halloween one, because of Michael Myers primarily. But yeah, I will give Jason that credit. Like, his kills are very creative.
Oh yeah, he turned into like a horror comedy after a while. He's just sitting there, hoping this and that one will get killed off in a funny way.
Yeah, well, that's what they become basically. You kind of okay. He's saying that was part 7.
Oh, okay.
So basically, you're not exactly watching these movies to root for any of them, like the characters who survive. You're like, how is Jason going to kill you?
Yeah, and the 6th one is the one I rewatched the most because it's, in my opinion, the most entertaining one. It's probably not the best, but I just keep rewatching that one. The only one I thought was eerie and all was the 2nd one, when he's walking around with a pillowcase over his head.
Yeah, before he gets the iconic hockey mask. So.
Yeah, I thought that one was the better horror movie in the series. But yeah, part 6, I just keep rewatching it.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the Manhattan one, like just for its cheesiness, is the one that I generally watch, and I think like the scene that always stands out to me with the Manhattan one is when Jason's walking down the sidewalk and he like basically kicks over the stereo that the punk teenagers are listening to, and they decide to be all big and bad, and I try to like threaten him, and all he does is turn around and like pull his mask off, and they're like, "Oh fucking hell!" and they run.
Yeah,
like that, like nah, like I'm not tough enough to deal with that shit. And Jason, like basically, like someone said, Jason's a killer. Yeah, Trey says Jason's a killer you cheered for, and it's like that was like a scene that I think just epitomizes that, because like you rooted for him because in that sense, because like it reminds me of the meme where it's like the older you get, the more you sympathize with the slasher in the films, because because of the annoying teenagers, and that scene kind of epitomizes that, where he kicks over the stereo. Like that's like something that like sometimes I feel like doing, in terms of just like not for the hell of it, but basically I just get so annoyed with all the shit like on Twitter and things like that, and like I sympathize with Jason. I sympathize with Michael Myers in a sense. Sympathize with the slashers, and I'm like, they had. Yet, like I sit down and go, that reminds me of another movie. Actually, have you seen the movie called Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon?
It sounds familiar, but I can't remember.
It is a bizarre film, very bizarre film, and it's set up in a way that this woman and her camera crew, how do I put this? I gotta make sure I don't screw up anything. So, Rise of Leslie Vernon. The next great psycho horror slasher has given a documentary crew exclusive access to his life as he plans his reign of terror over the sleepy town of Glen Echo. and Scott Wilson is in it. Robert Englund is in it. So basically, it's set up like a documentary, and then it turns that on its head near the end, because it becomes the scary movie in a sense. And it's one of those things where you kind of like you have to, I'd say watch it at least once. It's an interesting film. It's like not one of those mainstream horror films and things like that, but it's one of the ones that kind of turns it on its head. At like primarily, yeah, it's proto documentary, yeah. Robert Englund's like the Loomis character trying to stop him, sort of situation, and it's, I think, in a way underrated, but I would check it out if so like when you're talking about like underrated films, that's one of them.
I'll add it to my list.
Hey, Octonoozle. Yeah. You know, that's one of the ones where it's like, again, trying to narrow this down to 10. It's like very, very difficult. So, before we get into our number 10s, because we've been going for over 2 hours. Wow, fucking hell. I'm going to recap my up to 9, and then Steve will recap his up to 9, and then Steve will go into his number 10 on the top 10 list. So, my list as follows is Halloween, Exorcist, Fright Night, Train to Busan, The Awakening, Night of the Living Dead, the original, Wreck, Phantasm, and Lost Boys. Rounds up to 9.
Yeah, and mine were Halloween, The Evil Dead, The Shining, The Woman in Black, the remake of it, and then the Dawn of the Dead remake, The Ring, The Omen, Prince of Darkness, and Friday the 13th, Part 6.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so those are our 9, and they're quite a bit of honorable mentions. I'm pretty sure we'll go into, but now we're down to 10, the last one. So, what made number 10 for you, Steve?
Well, it's a found footage movie called The Taking of Deborah Logan.
That's one I have not seen, actually. I've seen parts of it, but I have not seen it completely through. So it's
like I said, it's a found footage one. An older lady has Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
Then it turns out it's not Alzheimer's at all. Something supernatural is going on. And it's extremely eerie.
Okay.
That movie. The actress who plays Deborah Logan, I think she's a soap opera actress, actually. She gives a 10 out of 10 performance in it.
So it's The Taking of Deborah Logan? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Okay, I'm going to look that up.
It has a couple of really nasty scenes in it that you probably haven't seen scenes like that in other movies, because I certainly can't remember it. But I think it has some jump scares. It ties into the supernatural element. I think there's a cult in it as well. Yeah, there's a cult in it. I can't really spoil it. That's the thing. It's a snake cult, I believe. But watch it. The Taking of Deborah Logan.
Okay.
Watch it with the lights off.
All right. See, he just recommended a movie to me that I haven't seen, and I just recommended a movie to him. That's what I love about movie discussions.
Yeah.
And jab. I have not heard of Terradrome Reign of the Legends. I've not heard of that one. And hail Tim F. Oh, The Legend of Hell House. Yeah, that's a good one. You might enjoy the channel Found Flicks. He talks about horror films. Okay. But yeah, Hell House, Legend of Hell House is very good. That's the one also with Roddy McDowall in it, I believe. But it's another kind of like supernatural movie, but it's very atmospheric, and it's like two of the characters, one played by Roddy McDowall, and a woman are like psychics, and they're set up to be like an experiment going on to either prove or disprove that this like place is actually haunted. Spoiler alert, it is, but it's actually very good. Actually, very good. All right, so that's Stig's top 10 or 10.
Yeah. Oh, could be Malik is asking me the Blair Witch Project or Blair Witch. I like the Blair Witch, the new one.
It was actually decent, yeah.
Yeah, especially the last bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
When, because, yeah, that's the stuff inside the cabin is tense. Mm-hmm. Holy crap!
I liked how it fucks with time. So
yeah.
So I enjoyed. I'm with you. I actually was not a fan of the Blair Witch Project when they originally came out. I thought, again, I'm using the word overrated, but I think it's like it was okay. It was decent. It wasn't like this. Like I think like what bolstered it for a lot of people was the belief that it was actually real found footage. So the people who made the movie actually had to go to court and say, like, no, this is not actual found footage. These aren't real people. Here are the actors. They're here.
Yeah.
Oh, look, they're alive. They're right here.
It was pretty much just people crying in the tent, and then sometimes you'd hear someone knock on wood in the distance. It was 2 hours of that.
Yeah. So I Book of Shadows was shit. Yeah, but like I think like the first one was like it was okay, but it wasn't like the great film that people were making it out to be when it came out. But anyway, mine is also another found footage film, which rounds out my top 10.
I knew that because you said it earlier.
Yeah, which is basically it's told from the point of view found footage, but they're VHS tapes because it's like hence the title. And basically, a group of misfits hired by an unknown third party to burglarize a desolate house in the countryside and acquire a rare tape. And upon searching the house, like they find these tapes and they watch the tapes and they disappear. And I love, and I like this one. The first one is actually very good. The sequel, I've seen the second one. I have not seen. I believe it's the third one. I've not seen the third one. The second one is okay in terms of like, again, like it follows a similar formula, things like that. But I like this is how you do found footage in a way where it falls into that category, but it's still bizarre enough that it sets itself apart. So that rounds out my top 10. Because I remember like seeing this movie and thinking like I wasn't going to give it a chance. I was going to be like, maybe it looks okay, things like that. And I was actually pretty impressed with what they were able to do. Yeah. So they should have kept it at just one, pretty much. I'm writing a script for the original Hell House of Pancakes. I got back to your comment, Ira. It's funny. Scream, like I said earlier, I was trying to stay away from mainstream horror movies. And Scream falls into the mainstream. I do like it. I do like that it's actually a parody in disguise. And that's part of the reason why I love it. But at the same time, I didn't like that would have been kind of, to me, one of the obvious choices. And I'm like, I wanted to steer clear of that. Max Tax Strike, the original Blair Witch had some seriously advanced video batteries for the time, pretty much. Wait, is that a DVD or VHS? That makes no sense. Yes. So, Phantasm or Puppet Master? Let's see. See, they're kind of different in a sense. But if I were to go with one that like I would pick to watch, like of those two, I'd go with Phantasm. But the first Puppet Master was very good. The movies themselves, the sequels themselves, were not only weird, but they don't believe in continuity. So you could watch one, and I'll set up an origin story for the actual Puppet Master, and then you watch the movie following it, and it sets up a different origin story. My favorite one, actually,
I forgot about a movie.
What?
I forgot about a movie that I probably would have put on my top 10. 13 Ghosts.
Which one?
First one.
So you're talking about the original, basically. So
no, the one from the early 2000s.
Well, that's not the original. That's not the first one. So that's a remake.
Well, yeah, but that one.
Oh, I mean, it could be on your list. I actually was not a fan of that movie. Because not because I've seen the original necessarily, but because I thought the only good part about that movie was Matthew Lillard's character. To me, at least in my personal opinion. But in terms of Puppet Master, what I was going to say is I think one of my favorite ones in that series is the one that's set during World War II. That's I think probably one of my favorite ones in the Puppet Master series is the one that's set in World War II. And you basically see the puppets take out Nazi soldiers. So, I don't know. He was a good actor. He's fucking better than Freddie Prinze Jr., but he kind of fell off the radar. So I don't know. I'm hoping he comes back because he's, like I said, I prefer him over Freddie Prinze Jr. So, Mr. Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I saw him in the new season of Twin Peaks that they did a few years ago.
Yeah, as far as movies, he kind of fell off the radar there.
Yeah.
Oh, Subspecies. I fucking love the Subspecies movies. Yeah. Full Moon Entertainment. So, hold on real fast. It's not a horror movie, but I'll be right back.
Matthew Lillard will be in Scream 5. Well, he's dead. The character's dead.
Yeah, it had to be. Well, unless they find a way to say like he somehow survived his wounds.
Well, he looks older now, though. You could just put a beard on him and have him play, a cop or something, right?
Yeah. So, but it's not a horror movie, but it's like a really weird movie. So if you haven't seen this, I recommend it. Robot Wars.
It looks awesome, though.
Yeah. It's has a Lisa Rinna in it. Basically, the woman who married what's his name? He played Perseus in the original Clash of the Titans. His wife, basically. So it's towards the end of the 21st century. So it's basically, when was it made? It's one of those movies that's like made in like the 1993, so early 90s, and basically it's like, it takes place 20 years later or thereabouts. Two great powers dominated the world, a division that resulted from a 30-year war known as the War of the Hemispheres. The war came to an end with the creation of giant, indestructible mega robots designed for military missions and balance of power. So, I think, the LA Law guy, she married him.
Harry Hamlin.
Yeah, Harry Hamlin, she married him.
Yeah.
She's in this movie from 1993. But it is fun because this is essentially the good robot, and this is for one better way of putting it, the villain robot. So, but it's worth a watch.
I have a little honorable mentions list too. Dog Soldiers was one on it, and Ginger Snaps, but Reanimator. Lovecraft movie. That one's pretty awesome. And The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. And,
my sister loves that movie. She's been watching it recently.
Yeah, so that's my honorable mentions list.
Yeah, so I what would make my honorable mentions list would be The Howling, would be Dog Soldiers, would be Subspecies movies, would Silver Bullets. If you ever make a top 20, these movies would definitely be in the top 20. So they're not necessarily just honorable mentions. They're just ones where it's I really had to narrow it down. I liked the third Ginger Snaps movie. Werewolf of London, I enjoyed. Orange Out Review said earlier, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I did enjoy that one from the early 90s. I thought that was a decent adaptation. The original Dracula from 1931, because that spawned the Universal horror movies with the Wolfman and the Invisible Man and Frankenstein. The Hammer horror productions, like original ones with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee, particularly the Dracula ones. I would have added a couple of those. Yeah, so like there are a lot. There are fucking a lot. Like it's like going back to Stephen King with Silver Bullets, I would add Salem's Lot to it. I thought the movie was a lot better than the book. And when I say movie, I'm talking about the one from the 1970s, not the abysmal remake with Rob Lowe. Yeah. So like there's a lot. I would also include the original Child's Play, the first Child's Play, because I love how like you like deep down you know it's the doll, but they set it up in a way where it's like, is the kid actually crazy or is that the doll actually alive? Sort of situation. I love how they set it up where it's like it's not exactly obvious, but then obviously it becomes obvious by the end of the movie. So, and the fact that Brad Dourif does a phenomenal voice acting job with Chucky. And one of my favorite horror movie moments is when Chucky's in the elevator with the old couple, and as the old couple's leaving, the woman says, like, ugly doll. And as the elevator like keeps going up, you hear Chucky go, "Fuck you." I always laugh at that scene. Just because of how he delivers the line. But there's that. So many movies. So like little we can do basically to narrow it down to a top 10. But that's my list. So
yeah, it's easy to forget movies too, because I had to change the list quite a few times because I was like, shit, I forgot about this one, I forgot about that one.
Yeah. So it's not as easy as it sounds, really. Even if you love the genre, it's not as easy as it sounds. But we've been going for almost 2.5 hours with this discussion, so it was very,
it
very
probably took longer because we didn't have many that overlapped.
No, like we basically just had, I think,
Halloween.
The first one, really, Halloween. That's it. Because they're both our number ones. That's the only one that overlapped, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you to everyone who showed up, who hung out with us during this discussion. We're planning on doing more of those. We just have to figure out categories and so forth. Coming up with top 10s. But yeah, so 2.5 hours. Like I do have to kind of stop because I am starting to lose my voice from all the talking. But Stig, let everybody know where they can find you, all that fun stuff. And if you don't want them to find you, let them know. So
yeah, I don't. I'm not looking for subs or followers or anything. I just like talking to people. But well, I'm here on most Fridays when I'm awake. Tomorrow, if I'm awake, I'll be on Miss Martin Muses' channel for the Lord of the Rings talk. We're starting to. Well, we're doing 2 chapters of the book per stream, and tomorrow we're doing the first 2 of the 2 towers.
Okay, cool.
So it's me and Teresa. It's Rennie, Toriel's on, and Lady Gravemaster.
Which is when I try to catch up with the discussions as much as possible, the times are not really good for me. So unfortunately, I'm not able to join. But I try to listen in as much as possible. But have you seen this movie?
On Thursdays, I'm on Alora's channel, OG Star Wars, for actually we've been doing it for over a year now for the Star Wars comic stuff. So Sleepaway Camp, yes, I've seen it, but I don't remember too much about it.
Oh, you'd remember the ending.
I need to rewatch it.
You need to watch it, if anything, just to get to the ending, because that will. Woo! I'm not saying anything. But yeah, it will leave an impression on you, shall we say?
Okay.
But yeah. So, but yeah, like obviously people who are in the chat know my channel, Jade Shadow. I try to make videos as much as possible. I generally do so on topics that I actually care about, or at least relatively care about, unless it's social commentary, in which case I'm ranting about stupid shit, most likely. Hey, Sunny Brave Megatron, we're just wrapping up, so I hope you enjoyed the replay of our top 10s. He says, Bukaki is poggers. Yes, it is. And he is a teabagging champion in Splitgate. So, but hopefully you enjoyed our top 10s. Like I said, I try to stay away from mainstream movies as much as possible, but our list did not obviously overlap. But at the same time, it's very difficult because, again, it's subjective, and you make a list and you remember other movies, and it's not as easy as it sounds, even if you enjoy the genre. So, and so basically, tomorrow you can find me on Talk Nerdy to Us. I don't know what channel it's going to be on. I have to get in a hold of Steph, because it was supposed to be on her channel last week, and she skipped it because I wasn't able to do it. So we had to figure out if we're going to kind of like stay on schedule and it'll be on my channel, or it'll be back on her channel. I don't know. I got to talk with her. And then Sunday, you should find me hopefully on Lethal Lightning's channel talking about the Demon Slayer Season 2, Episode 2, and then later on, another anime discussion series on Fate's Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works. So, when D&D, which is like, well, I won't be able to join, but normally we do D&D Sunday afternoons. I'll be gone for D&D, and I won't be getting back until after you guys will be done. So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of shit happening over the next couple of days, and then hopefully videos.
Mara whipped retards in D&D.
Yeah, I did. I kind of snapped. But you have to admit, I know it was your rolls that did it, but they were fucking retarded.
Yeah, you were whipping them through the forest or something.
Yeah, so
it just fuck this, and just
Well, because we were leaving, and you had them say, it's like, well, if we go this way, we're not technically crossing the river, because they were talking about like going someplace that we were telling them not to go. So I basically pulled out my whip, and it's like, don't cross the fucking river. Like whipping these 3 characters.
Yeah.
So hey, good night. Now I'm saying good night to everyone in the chat. Thank you all again for stopping by. Like I said, I'm going to try to do videos when I can. It's not easy with my schedule, and then the live stream. So basically, we should be back next week with another episode of Cringe Factory. Always cringe to talk about. So thank you to Stig again for joining me for a top 10. Thank you to everyone who sent super chats and gave your own. No, this is offline because they're those in the chat that are uncomfortable with airing it on stream.
Yeah, plus if we're airing it, then it'll be all kinds of interruptions. Mm-hmm. We have to address the chat.
Yeah,
so it won't be a very effective play.
I mean, if anything happens, I talk about it. I mean, not all of it, but I talk about it. But like we don't air it. So
plus the chat will be telling the players what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, really. We try to avoid metagaming.
So. Yeah, if someone's about to screw up, and then someone in the chat go, "Oh, remember you have a healing potion."
Yeah,
right? or whatever, kind of messes things up.
So there it is. So hopefully you all enjoyed it, and those who came in late, hopefully you enjoyed the replay and our reasons for the reasons we gave for the movies that are on our top 10. And again, thank you to my co-host, thank you to everyone. So I'm just gonna basically sign off, and we'll talk about in the coming weeks the next top 10 we will do for November. So good night, everyone. No. I do not abide by YouTube's terms of service for D&D. Definitely not.
No. They, you know what? I've been a DM for D&D probably since the early 2000s and stuff. Mm-hmm. Women are more toxic than men in D&D.
Yep, we are pretty much.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'd be able to keep them if we were to stream them, there's no way I'd be able to keep them live. I'd have to private them or unlist them. So. No way.
Yeah, and that would be your fault.
I'm not saying that I would I would blame anyone else. I'm just saying that people wouldn't be able to go back and watch it because I'd have to do that.
I know, but you're the most R-rated one of the group.
I am pretty much, but it is what it is. So again, good night, everyone. Have fun with the rest of your weekends. And I will see you all tomorrow on either Steph's or my channel for Talk Nerdy to Us at 10 p.m. Eastern. So, and then I'm going to try to stream on Twitch tomorrow at around 4 p.m. Eastern. So look for that. If you follow me on Twitter, I will tweet out times and when I'm playing and all that fun stuff and a link to my Twitch channel. So until next time, thank you again, and I will see you all later. Good night, everyone.
Take care and be well.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.